Well, hello and welcome to this week's video. Then I'm going to start with a question. Is your perfectionism blowing your relationship before it even begins? Is it ruining your chances to find the love of your life? My name is Terri Cole. I'm a licensed psychotherapist, a relationship expert, and the founder of the Real Love Revolution. So let's talk about perfectionism. That's what we're talking about in the video today. Are you a perfectionist? I'm going to ask you a bunch of questions and you're going to answer truthfully, yes or no. Do you think you need to have the perfect but in order to get someone's attention? Do you think you should lose 20 pounds before you start dating in earnest? Do you think you should have bigger boobs? Do you think you should make more money? Do you think you should have smaller boobs? Do you need the right outfit? Do you need the right bag? Do you need to change your appearance? These are all ways that perfectionism creates procrastination. So why do we do it? Where does it start? How do we change it? That's what this entire video is going to be about today. So sit down, and you know what I wanted to do before we get moving? Hold on. I have some essential oil. I would love it if you guys are going to be following the Real Love Revolution videos and really engaging and getting involved. This is hard work. This is not for sissies, people. So a little bit of soothing before we get moving. I have this that my friend Lara gave me called Peace and Calm, which I really like. We are taking this and taking a deep breath. And I want you to do the same. So just for a sec, close your eyes before we get moving. Maybe today you don't have lavender or essential oil, or hit pause and go get some in your house, your apartment if you have it. Put it in your hands, rub it together. Take a nice deep breath, and I want you to visualize that as you're breathing in the peaceful, positive energy that's all around you right now. And as you're exhaling, I want you to be releasing any limiting beliefs, any anxiety, any fearful thoughts, and anything that's happened in the past. Let's just allow all of that limiting stuff leave your body through your breath. Take one more deep breath in through your nose and out through your nose. Inhaling peaceful expansion. Exhaling anything that no longer serves your greatest good. Okay, now open your eyes and let's dig into today's topic. Perfectionism is something that so much of the time it goes unacknowledged as a problem because especially in this country, we are so ambitious. We are so into making money. We are so into being successful that even people being workaholics, I'll have clients say to me, well, it's better than him being a heroin addict, and yes, okay, I guess we can all agree it's better than being a heroin addict. But there are things that you lose. And I feel like people don't look at perfectionism as a problem because it's a badge of honor in the society that we live in. Like, wow, I sleep 4 hours a night and, busy, work. It's almost like having an incredibly busy calendar, work calendar, social calendar, proves that we're important. But it's more than that. And when it comes to love and when it comes to relationships, it really becomes a non-starter. When you think that you have to wait until you lose the 10 pounds or finish grad school or get a great job or become more confident or get over all past relationships, get over everything that's ever happened in your life before you really join the dating world, that is just an excuse to do nothing. That is an excuse to complain and not change something. And what it really is, if we, let's really peel back the layers of the onion, what is it? It's fear of failure. And with a lot of my clients, a lot of my psychotherapy and coaching clients, they have a fear of failure and a fear of success, right? They've been single. They say they really want to be in a relationship. Well, what if you get in a relationship? How is your life going to change? How is the way that you live going to change? What will you need to do? So fear of failure in relationships and fear of success are actually two sides of the same coin, and that coin is fear of change. We are all so afraid of change, which is ironic given that we are human beings, and the truth is that the only thing we can ever count on is that everything is going to change, even if you're in a great relationship, because this is part of being alive and being a human being on planet Earth, is that we must be okay with things changing. So let's talk about perfectionism. I'm also going to give you guys a checklist. There'll be a link. You'll be able to download the checklist so you can really see yourself in these, the different symptoms of perfectionism, because you may not have them all. But the question is, if you can't enjoy what's happening in your life. So let's look at perfectionism around work, and then I want to get to really the root of the problem. How does this start? So much of the time, it has to do with, again, the way that we're raised, the home that we are raised in, and the expectation of our parents. If you grew up in a home where you got an A, and your father said, "Why wasn't it an A+," you learn that it's not good enough. It's also a home where you are very, your accomplishments, you are lavished praise for your accomplishments, but you are also berated for it not being good enough. So what you learn is that your value is directly connected to your performance. Does this sound familiar to you? Does it make sense to you? Do you understand? Right. So it's like, I find I was a talent agent for many years before I became a psychotherapist. And I find that with a lot of actors in that business, you are only as good as your last job. That's actually a saying in the entertainment business, because it's true. So nobody kind of cares. If you're a Broadway performer and you were on Broadway for 5 years in Les Mis or something, but that was 5 years ago, kind of nobody gives a crap about that as your experience. And the need to constantly be proving yourself worthy, that's how we know perfectionism to this degree is very dysfunctional, right? Because we need to feel inherently worthy because we are a human being and we're alive, and you are inherently worthy. It can't only be based on your accomplishments, because when you think about it, what happens? Sometimes we succeed and sometimes we fail. And with perfectionists, you will never do anything major in your life. Most perfectionists are really risk adverse. You're super into no pain, no gain. You're willing to work yourself to death because this you understand how to do. But you really are only doing things that you know that you can do well, right? You're not taking risks in an area of the unknown because there's too much fear involved with that. Perfectionism makes you look at everything you do with this hypercritical eye. And it was probably the similar to the critical eye that somebody looked at you with as a child. Whether it was that you weren't thin enough or you weren't athletic enough. If you have a narcissistic parent or a parent who is very interested in the external, and if you're a beautiful person, but if there was a lot of focus put on your looks in life, then you really look at your value as being the way that you look. And having been a talent agent for supermodels for a bunch of years, I could see how this impacted many of the women that I represented. So having a bad hair day or having all this negative press or people in the press saying that they weren't pretty was devastating to some women if they had this perfectionist complex, where there are other women who were healthier and their sense of self was not based on the way that they looked. And for those women, they wouldn't even read the bad reviews of the haters who were saying crap about them online. They just didn't care because they were like, whatever, that doesn't have to be true. So I want to move into the actual checklist so that we can get down and dirty and super personal about you. Part 1 is ending. Okay, so before we get into the list, there's a few other things I want to cover. The first is that, listen, being a perfectionist can be very adaptive. We call it adaptive functioning, where something that can be, that can get in the way of your happiness, right? Perfectionism absolutely gets in the way of happiness. But it also can be adaptive, because instead of becoming a heroin addict or becoming an alcoholic or whatever it is, you become a workaholic. So you know how to get things done. You are efficient. You are effective. And these are all good things. But they're not good if they come at the expense of your happiness. And if you can never look at anything that you've done and be proud of it, because all you can see is the teeny little mistake or the 2% that wasn't perfect. And that really does and can and will really ruin your happiness, especially when it comes to finding love. Because you'll never be perfect, my friend. I think you're amazing exactly as you are right this moment in time. But there is no perfect. We're humans, right? We're human beings. And so if you are waiting to have all of your shit figured out before you put yourself out there, it's really just a way to not put yourself out there. You know this. It's a tactic. It's a technique to stay safe, to stay not judged, let's just say. I had a client who came to me and was a very successful, he was very successful in the entertainment business at a very young age, had saved a lot of money, had already bought an apartment in New York, and he was coming to me because he was applying to grad schools to get his MBA. And I was like, okay, but I kind of thought you were an actor. Why are we doing this? And he was stressed out of his mind. And he had gotten some kind of autoimmune disorder from stress. So I said to him, okay, so what are you really here for? And he said, I want to be less stressed. And I was like, what is the thing that's making you stressed? He said, applying to MBA programs. And I was like, wait, can we back up? You're on Broadway and have just done a television show. Why are you applying to grad school? Like, why do you want to get your MBA? This is not like get a 6-week program to become a Reiki master. This is like your life for 2 years. You think you're going to be able to be on Broadway and be in like a master's program in one of these New York high-end schools? You're not. And he said, well, it's good. It's something I should fall back on. I feel like, I want to be a business person too and all these other things. And I knew, I was like, oh yeah, no, this is not what this is about. This is about something else. So I finally started asking questions and sort of peeling away the onion and doing this inventory that I would give all of my clients so I can see what is really going on. And come to find out, he was a gay man and his family was very religious and very rejecting. And so all of the success that he had, none of it was ever recognized by his family because they wanted him to be a doctor and to not be an actor, although he'd been incredibly successful already. And I was like, hey, you can get your MBA and that's not going to change your dynamic with them. Like, you'll never be successful enough to not be gay in their eyes. So how about we don't apply to MBA programs because you don't even want to do it? And after, of course, working together, it took a little while, but he decided not to get his MBA, and he continues to be an incredibly successful working actor who is now married and has a husband and has a daughter and is very happy in his life. So again, the perfectionism or the striving or the looking for something else to make you feel okay, if you're not dealing with the origin of why you don't feel okay, none of that is going to make you feel okay. You'll just still not feel okay, but have your MBA, right? So anyway, I wanted to share that story because I felt that it was relevant to what it is that we're talking about. So let's get to the checklist of perfectionist tendencies so you can see, can you really find yourself in this mix? Are you highly critical of others? Because being judgmental towards others is a super common psychological defense mechanism, right? We reject in others what we cannot handle in ourselves. So there is one big one. Think about how critical are you of others? Are you constantly judging every person in your life? And are they kind of sick of it? Because honestly, people are sick of being judged. People do not like being judged. It feels really bad. Perfectionism, like another quality, the second part of the list is being eager to please others, because so much of this perfectionist stuff starts in childhood, as I've been saying, right? When we're young, it's like reach for the stars. Parents and teachers, they encourage us to like go for everything to get the gold stars, but perfectionists learn very early on to really live by what I was saying before, which is I achieve, therefore I am. So I want you to think about, is that something that is true for you? The next thing is, you know that your drive for perfectionism is hurting you, but you kind of are into it. You consider it the price you need to pay for success. Let's just say, oh wow, I gotta move, I'm uncomfortable. So you consider it the price that you need to pay. Being average, the thought of you being average or mediocre, if that makes you want to just jump out a window, basically, you can probably check this as one of your symptoms. They're not always, perfectionists also, though, are not always high achievers, right? Because sometimes the perfectionism creates workaholism, but the fear of making a mistake actually blocks your success. Having these relentlessly high standards that is super stressful, and there's no way that you're going to be able to ever hit them. And so you're really setting yourself up to be disappointed, because there'll always be a reason to be disappointed. The next symptom is having this attitude, and I think I mentioned this before, it's like go big or go home. There's a real black or white type of thinking, very much like the acting example I gave before, where you're either super successful, but only when you're doing that thing in that moment, and that you forget about that success very, very quickly, and then you move into the next thing. What is the next thing you're going to do to feel that higher, to feel okay? This all or nothing game, your whole life can become this all or nothing game, which is it can just be so depressing, because there's no rest for the weary with this symptom. Another thing is that you have a hard time opening up to others. Perfectionism really, back to the whole point of this video, impacts your ability to be intimate. Brene Brown actually talks about perfectionism as being a 20-ton shield. She calls it that we carry around. It basically protects us from getting hurt, but what it really does is it simply prevents us from truly connecting with others. So the intense fear of failure and rejection perfectionists have, it gives you too much fear to basically let yourself be exposed or vulnerable to other people. So it's hard. It's so hard for you to share your internal experience, even with a partner, even if you're in a relationship. So the whole thing about perfectionism blocking your real love story before it even has a chance to begin can also apply to those of you who are in relationships. Because the question is, have you allowed your partner to truly know you? Because as I've said before, how can anyone authentically love you if you never give them the chance to authentically know you? They can't. And that is so sad, because you might be in a relationship right now that has so much mad and amazing potential to be deeply satisfying and intimate. And you may be just blocking it for fear that if that person really knew you and saw you, quote unquote, warts and all, that they would reject you or not love you. So the last one I want to talk about is the way that you resonate on past failures. You know that saying, like, no use crying over spilt milk? Yeah, but you're going to anyway, aren't you, if you're a perfectionist? And that has to do with relationships, ruminating what you should have said, what you didn't say, whether it's something as simple as burning the dinner, right? Or being 5 minutes late to a meeting. And you can play that shit over in your mind for days, weeks, months, years, or a lifetime. And what does this do for you when you are obsessing over every little teeny mistake? It really makes you frustrated, but it can put you in the position to finally you get to a tipping point where you can't take it, and you have an existential crisis, a total meltdown. We'll call it a version of like a grown-up temper tantrum, right? How often does that happen in your life? When what you really think about with perfectionism, if we're saying straight up what it really is that your main focus is on failure. That's what perfectionism is. Wow, let's just avoid failure at all costs, and let's just obsess about every past failure that we've ever created in our lives. And this really puts you in a position to not take risks, but to not enjoy your life. Let it go. Part of this process is learning to let it go, and in relationships as well. Your partner isn't perfect. You're not perfect. The importance of forgiving cannot be overstated. You must forgive yourself. Why do you expect that you should know all of these things? We're in life school, my friends. This is life school. We're learning as we go. How lucky are we that we get to learn as we go? Being a perfectionist is you finding ways to stay safe, to live small, and to hold on to your unhappiness as if it were a little blankie, a little whoopee that you're just pulling up your unhappiness. You think you need it. You don't. You don't. And being aware of these things about you, and actually I said that was the last one. All right, there's one more that I just want to say, is that you take everything personally. Wow, it's not all personal. I don't need to go on and on about that. And when you download the actual list, you will have it there a little bit more extensively. You get the point. You know if you are someone who takes everything so personally. So I'm going to end this by saying, if you are using perfectionism to either sabotage your real love story before it even begins, or to stay in the surface relationship that you're in and never take it to a deeper level, I want you to get motivated to stop that right now. And by knowing what you're doing, by downloading this checklist, that is the beginning of changing the behavior. Because awareness alone, right, even with your desire to change something, awareness alone isn't enough. Your desire to change it isn't enough. You must take action. So what is transformation? Awareness plus your intention, right? Your desire to change it plus action equals transformation. And that is what I want for you. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I want you to share it with people. Please join my YouTube channel, subscribe so you don't miss a thing, because we are on the real love revolution journey together. And I am so excited for you to transform what is not working in your life. So I hope you have an amazing week. And as always, take care of you. And how about be nice to you too this week?